In the ancient spiritual traditions of this beautiful island, the spring season, especially the transition from the darker days to the brighter days, is associated with goddess Bridget. Bridget represents, especially at this time of the year, growth, inspiration, and warming of the land after winter. She is also bridge between opposing forces, between life and death, war and peace, the old and the new. Bridget is also the goddess of healing, both physically as a healer and spiritually as a peacemaker. She is linked to midwifery and fertility, caring both for mothers and babies, ensuring the well-being of families. She is also often invoked in matters of hospitality and generosity, two values that were sacred in the Irish tradition and were also central to what I would call the juris indigenorum of this land, the legal order of the Brehons. Overall, Bridget embodies the idea of strength with compassion, showing that true power lies not just in force, but in forgiveness, care, and unity. As I follow the news from Palestine over this week, sitting in Ireland, I could not help thinking of Bridget and her Christian counterpart, St. Bridget of Kildare, known for mediating conflict and fostering harmony among opposing communities. 15 years ago, back in 2010, Professor Ilan Pappé, a Jewish scholar, analyzed the Zionist policy with regards to the Gaza Strip, concluding that it was, and I quote, an incremental genocide with a focus on siege and blockade. Professor Pappé describes the Zionist establishment's overall attitude towards the Palestinian people as one focused on, and I quote, incremental ethnic cleansing. We must not fail to take stock of the fact that, just like any other settler colonial project, such as declaring an entire continent full of rich cultures and black communities, terra nullius, Australia, the genocidal violence against the native nations of Turtle Island, what you know today as North America, the violence unleashed against the Tangata Whenua, Whenua in Te Reo Maori is the land, so Tangata Whenua, the people of the lands, the Maori people of Aotearoa, the violence and subjugation of the Kandyan kingdom in Sri Lanka, where I come from, and many other places. What is happening today in Palestine is a colonialist extractivist project with genocidal intent. Something that a recent United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry also highlighted. So, Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Reporter on Palestine, recently noted during a talk show that the world we live in is still a deeply racist world with racialized hierarchies determined by many other intersecting factors and prejudices continue to govern the world. In this world, it has become easier for a minority of influential fascists to make their voice very loud, just as it transpired in the 1930s in Europe. Their voice may seek to drown the large majority of the voices of reason. It is our responsibility as people of faith, as people who believe in equality and justice for everyone, to never let the fascist loudness drown the voices of reason and the voices of compassion. Feminist theologians in the Jewish faith have been on the forefront of such voices of compassion. It is with tremendous love and admiration that I would mention the names of two exceptional Jewish women of faith, the Most Reverend Rabbi Lynn Gottlieb, the first woman in Jewish history to be ordained, and the Most Reverend Rabbi Alisa Weiss, who recently co-authored a beautiful book entitled Solidarity is the Political Version of Love, Lessons from Jewish Anti-Zionist Organizing. Highly recommended now. We often hear that the issue at hand is a Jewish versus Muslim problem. It is not. We often hear that this is an issue of national security. It is not. The truth of the matter is that this is about natural resource extraction combined with a settler colonial project driven by a fascist agenda, Zionism. The large majority of the global Jewish community, inside and outside the state of Israel, have been vehemently critical of this fascist ideology. some of the brightest minds in the global Jewish intelligentsia, from Professor Naomi Klein, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Professor Marianne Hirsch, Professor Ilan Pape, Professor Richard Wolff, my absolute role model, friend and feminist pioneer, Professor Cynthia Rothschild, to many others, have been on the forefront of advocating against this current. To mention a fraction of the names that deserve fulsome place on this list, you'll need a 12-hour mass. It is also of vital importance to note that in the 1930s in Europe, it is the early 20th century version of this humane, thriving, and extremely cosmopolitan Jewish intelligentsia that formed the prime target of the regime of the Nationalsozialistische Arbeitspartei Deutschlands, popularly known as the Nazi regime. I request all of you to reflect on this goodness, this kindness, this understanding, this preparedness to boldly call out fascism and stand for compassion, peace, and coexistence, which are hallmarks of the large majority of the global Jewish community. This community shows all of us how best we can engage with the tragedy unfolding in Palestine. And as I speak, it shows us what happens in Palestine does not stay in Palestine. We live in a world where our lives and realities are interconnected. Feminist thinkers have long said this. Dr. Audre Lorde, black feminist thinker, once said, "I'm not free while any other woman is unfree, even if her shackles are very different from my own." This is a truism we need to take very seriously and apply to every woman, and for that matter, to every human being. Advocating for the dignity, safety, humanity, and the very basic right to live of the Palestinian people is an erstwhile responsibility we all share in the face of the tragic circumstances they are forced to face. May the native land of our Lord and its people in all their diversities be blessed with the powerful, caring, compassionate, and divine feminine blessings of Goddess Bridget. Assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem.